Welcome to Scoop World Order. It is Monday night. We have a huge recruiting show tonight. We're going to talk a little combine, talk about some of the quarterbacks that are in play, talk about offensive line like always, talk about spring ball. It is spring ball eve today. They kick off practice tomorrow morning, so everyone's excited about that. The guys will get a couple practices in, not in full pads, not non-contact practices, and it's going to be good stuff. So super excited about that. So we are going to have some really good stuff for you guys. I got Bill the Bank Greene. He was at a quarterback combine yesterday, and he's going to kind of give us a little download on a potential 25 quarterback and and a 26 quarterback, which is really interesting, and also a potential superstar wide receiver from Archbishop Hoban. So we're going to get into that. As always, thank you guys for tuning in and making us a part of your night. As always, we don't take you guys for granted. We appreciate the views, the likes, the subscriptions, everything, because it's been growing like crazy. The channel is closing in on a milestone, 19,000 followers. So we appreciate you guys. Been growing nutty every month over month. So thank you guys for that. Get on BuckeyeScoop.com. We're going to have big spring ball inside stuff we're going to be talking about. A lot of consternation on the coaching staff. Who's going to coach where? Who's going to be recruiting where? There's some really interesting stuff that I found out over the weekend. So we're going to get into that while we are on the script. But with that being said, it's time to get right to Bill the Bank Greene. Bank, how are you tonight?
Good, man. Doing real well.
Good. So we, you were at a quarterback combine yesterday in Cleveland. So why don't you just give us a little bit of a download about who was there, who threw the event, and some of the things that you were able to take in yesterday.
Yeah, the event is it's a just sort of a quarterback camp, and I think it's run by a guy named Brad Mandler, who is excellent, quarterback guru. He was a quarterback coach at Hudson back in the day. He had Mitch Gadani, ended up going to Toledo. And Brad has been in private business, and now he's made the leap. And I think in the past year, he is now full-time quarterback instructor. I mean, there were kids there from all over Ohio. A kid flew in from Houston with his dad, who had met Brad somewhere along the way. And they come every so often to be tutored by him. I mean, there had to have been 25 or 30 quarterbacks there, and this thing was so well run, so organized. And Brad is, he's so good at what he does, and in teaching the quarterback position, he's really well respected among college coaches. So great event. I mean, couldn't have been more impressed. Some of the headliners there, the headliner was actually Drew Aller was there. Drew came through this program before, and Brad has been tutoring Drew since he was probably a sophomore, and Brad is pretty tight with Mike Yursich, and they're kind of on the same page there. So Drew, I thought he was just coming just to work out or just to hang out with the kids and speak to them, give them a little pep talk, but he went through the full workout and he looks amazing. Drew is now he's 6'5", about 240, and he was not 240 in high school. He was like 190 or something, or 210 maybe. And the interesting thing is Ryan Montgomery, 2025 quarterback heading into his junior year, is following on the same path as Drew. And that's really exciting for me because I think Drew Aller is going to be really special this year at Penn State. So we'll see. But I think Ryan Montgomery is same size as Drew Aller was when they both were the same age. And I would say Ryan's a little bit ahead of where Drew was at the same age. So, I think, Ohio State, I think they're going to get Ryan Montgomery, and I think they're going to be happy with him. Trying to project where he'll be in 3 or 4 years. I think it's going to be pretty good for Ohio State.
Do you think that there's a chance, and I mean, there's always a chance with the way Ryan Day likes to recruit nationally, that Ryan Montgomery could end up like Drew Aller and they could take a big swing at a number 1 overall type kid like they did with Quinn Ewers, and then, maybe Ryan slips away despite being an extremely solid, in-state kid. Is there a chance? Because again, like our quarterback recruiting it's been really, really good, but there's been a lot of twists and turns. You go all the way back to Jack Miller, take CJ Stroud late, you got the Haskins Burrow thing, then you've got Quinn Ewers, he reclassifies, and you take Devin Brown, then he transferred. I mean, then Dylan Raiola. I mean, it's like, with the quarterback recruiting, I don't know if you ever really get excited until they actually start a game because we've seen so much transition.
You never know.
But do you think?
Well, like when I saw Drew yesterday, and I was the first person to ever write about Drew Aller. Like no one ever heard of him, and I saw him throw for 300 and some yards against Lakewood St. Edward when he didn't even know what he was doing. I mean, he was just a sophomore. They threw him in there, and you don't throw for 3 bills on St. Ed's, So, but Ryan Montgomery could be that national guy. Drew Aller ended up being a national guy. He was a 5-star kid. So Ryan Montgomery, I think, is going to end up being that guy. And that's a hard project from, for me. Like I say, I love where the kid's headed. Still 2 more years of high school to go. He may end up being that 5-star national guy. So, it's tricky when you start offering in-state kids and then you decide not to take them. Man, it's not good policy. It's just not. Just wait and offer them when you're sure. You can't handle the in-state kids like you handle a quarterback from California. You can offer him, and when he calls to commit, you say, we're not ready. And it's no problem. You start doing that with in-state kids, man, and it reverberates around the state, and it's not good. So, everything I can see, with Luke Montgomery on the roster now, they've offered Ryan. I think Ryan's their guy. And I think they're happy that he's their guy. And, from what I saw yesterday, I just think this kid just keeps getting better and better. And he's going to end up being a 6'4", 6'5" kid and he'll end up being well over 200 pounds. But he's a heck of a basketball player. So he's a better athlete than what Drew Aller is. So I think they're pretty excited about Ryan Montgomery, and I think they should be.
Do you think that the 25 class ends up being a 2-quarterback class?
And it's hard to take a 2-quarterback class anymore because these kids, they just don't want that. They don't want to be a part of a 2-quarterback class. They'll go somewhere else. Ryan Montgomery's got offers from Michigan, Georgia, and Georgia was a player there. I'm telling you that Todd Monken had a great relationship with Ryan Montgomery there. And Todd Monken leaving Georgia, I think, really helps Ohio State. So, but that 2-quarterback class, man, it just doesn't work so good anymore.
Yeah.
The kids don't want to be a part of it, and they don't have to be a part of it. There's 130 D1 schools. They'll find one where they can be the guy, the only guy, the path to starting job.
Yeah, it's weird how it seems. I'm not going to go all the way back in time to Zwick and Troy Smith, but yeah, it's like that second guy, almost like C.J. Stroud and Jack Miller. It was like Jack was like the early guy.
Jack Miller. Yeah, they told you right out what they thought of Jack Miller when they jumped right over him with C.J. Stroud, and it was the right move. Yeah. It was a great move by Ryan Day. It wasn't about feelings, it was about we got a chance to get a much better player. So it was just recruiting over a guy. They recruited over Jack Miller in the same class is what they did.
Yeah, and I think you could do that pre-transfer portal. Now I think it's a whole ball of wax where guys will take off after that first spring ball if they realize that they're behind the guy that's in their class. Again, like last year we had 4 freshmen and 2 of them took off, and we got 1 went pro, and now we're down to just Kyle McCord and Devin Brown.
You may lose one of them. You may lose one of them here in 6 weeks.
Oh, easily.
Now, Ryan Day, I know what Ryan Day is going to say, and you know what Ryan Day is going to say. He's going to say it's too close to call. They're dead even. We're going to have to pick this back up in the fall to figure out who our starting quarterback can be. Both of them are great. I love both. Both can be our guy. I just can't make a decision right now. I know he's going to say that. You are not going to name a starting quarterback in the spring, and the other guy's gone. You want to prolong this, drag it out, keep him on that string. And then once the games start, well, then they're not going anywhere at that point. So.
Yeah, I think it's a lot like Dwayne Haskins and Joe Burrow. I remember Kevin Wilson sitting at the podium saying we need both these guys to be successful this year. And, a week later, Joe Burrow's in the portal heading to LSU, and can't fault him. I mean, it was one of the greatest – it was probably the greatest transfer in the history of sports.
turn him into a multi-millionaire. If he
Yeah.
stays at Ohio State and he stays buried on the depth chart, who knows?
Well,
Who
I mean,
knows what happened to Joe
you,
Burrow? He could be teaching school at Miamisburg right now. So that
yeah,
was a great transfer.
you talked to his dad going into his senior year, and what did he say back? And his dad is a college football coach. He's not some guy who he hasn't been around the block and doesn't know what's going on. But talk a little bit about what his dad thought going into Joe's senior year at LSU.
Yeah, after Joe's first year at LSU, I mean, I think he threw like 22 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions. It was nothing eye-popping. He certainly wasn't on any draft lists like he was after his last year at LSU. So going into that year, he was 15th quarterback in the country when it came to the draft. So his dad, Jimmy Burrow, coached D-line at OU, and he was always at the Ohio State camps. So naturally, I asked him, how's Joey doing? And he said, we're hoping, with a big year, he might get drafted next year. We think he will. We're pretty sure he'll be in someone's camp, trying to hang on to a team. But, he's going to get his master's degree and, he would go into coaching and teaching if that doesn't work out. But we feel like he possibly could get drafted and he should be in an NFL camp. It's exactly what his dad said, a knowledgeable football guy. And then you fast forward from June to, mid-October, November, and it's like, this guy's going to be the first pick of the draft.
Yeah.
And that was no one had him if you can go back and look at pre-draft reports, the summer before his senior year, nobody had him as a high draft pick, let alone the first overall pick of the draft. Yeah. So it's crazy. It just shows that you have to be on the field. You must be on the field as a quarterback. Well, in any position. You know what I mean? Forget chasing a championship ring. It's the dumbest thing you could do. You have to be on the field. And, Joey played it right, man. And he went to LSU, and I don't think he had any idea what was going to happen at LSU. Joe Brady showed up. Those receivers popped, and look where everything is today. Great, one of the greatest transfers ever.
Yeah, infrastructure, like when you show up and you're like, oh my God, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson are actually pretty good. These guys are really good.
And he had those guys the year before, too, and they didn't really do all that much. They didn't have this ultra super passing attack. It was just everything just fell into place for his senior year. And, God bless him. Great kid. Couldn't be happier for a guy like that.
Exactly. Do you have any update on the 24 quarterback? Obviously there's been about 5 different names.
3 of them in the mix right now. They're trying to pry Julian Sayin away from Alabama. Haven't heard anything more on that. Jaden Davis, they totally insulted and embarrassed, a year ago, and now they're trying to mend that fence. And I think they are. I think they're making headway there with, him and his team, trying to show them that, you got to forget personal feelings. This is business. And when you come to Ohio State and play for Ryan Day, you become a millionaire as a quarterback. So that's what's being sold there. And then there's Aaron Noland. Aaron Noland is going to visit campus here soon, and he has been told if he will make the effort on his own dime to come to Ohio State, they're going to offer him. So I think one of those 3 will be in this class. I think, man, the odds are probably 33% on all 3. But, if they offer Aaron Noland on his visit and he throws his hand up, do they take him? Or do they tell him, hang in there a little bit. We got some things going on. I don't know. That could be interesting. But he has been told if he'll show up on his own dime, they're going to offer him. So we'll see if that happens. But he's coming. He's going to be there in a few weeks. So for an unofficial, and then we see if maybe they tell him, come back for an official, and then we can take your commitment once we get to know each other a little better. I don't know. I don't know how they'll play it because I think they're in the game for Sayin, and I think they're in the game for Jaden Davis.
Yeah, I think these 24 quarterbacks are crazy for not committing here when you've got Ennis Tate and then you've got J.J. Smith coming in with you. I mean, it's just like if you want to have like a really, really fun time playing quarterback, like throw it to those guys. Like look at like CJ. Like CJ had CJ is going to get drafted by a team and he'll be like, man, these guys aren't as good as Emeka and Marvin, or he's going to go to the Texans or the Panthers. And, he's like, they'll have DJ Moore, but like, he's like, I had 2 of those guys that were better than the guy I had here. And and that's not even with Jackson Smith and Jigba. You know, you'll be like, God, I had 3 first rounders, and they got open, and Ryan's offense, and you know, he's going to have a coordinator that's probably not going to have as good of a passing attack as what Ryan Day has. So it's going to be real interesting, and that's why, like, if I'm Jane Davis, man, I'm like, if I get to throw to JJ, I'm in. See ya. You know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. There is a little connection there between Jaden Davis and the SFE 7-on-7 group, and then the next link would be to JJ on that and JoJo Trader. So there's a little bit happening there, that I think is helping Ohio State kind of mend the fence.
Yeah, is anything to worry about with JJ?
No.
Okay.
No, he's he took a visit to FSU, which probably a fun trip. I look for him to visit Miami also. Now, the only official visit he has set is Ohio State. So that's the only official. So, no, I don't think there's anything to worry about at all. I love his family situation, his team, it being his uncle and his dad. They're sharp. They're smart. No, I see no problem there, and they've been through it before with Gino, so no problem there at all. These people are sharp, and they're very smart, very educated about the recruiting process. And I think they're looking long-term to what, the development under Hartline will do for them, but they're also looking at the short term. And, people think that, Emeka and Jackson Smith and Jigba are going to McDonald's with coupons, and that is not the case. Okay, Jelani Thurman is not hitchhiking to practice, right? Carnell Tate has money in his pocket right now, so JJ knows short-term, long-term, and I see nothing to worry about with him, decommitting from Ohio State.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite kids I've ever been around. I talked to him when I went to that Naples tournament with the SFE guys, and I talked to his dad for a long time. And I mean, JJ is serious as a heart attack. I mean, he is not there to play games. He is not there to cut. I mean, he is all ball. And like I loved the kid. Like he just is. He doesn't screw around. He's not a clown. He's out there and he wants to win every rep. And like so he's again, when you're looking at who's got the most proficient route to the NFL draft right now, and we just had another great combine. Jackson Smith and Jig was probably going to be a top 10 pick after running those shuttle times and having a really crisp workout. You look at Garrett, you look at Chris Olave, you see Marvin and Emeka. It's like, if you're a receiver, I just think you're insane if you don't come to Ohio State at this point, because the system's proven if you just do the right things and take care of yourself off the field, then you're going to be in really good shape at the end of your 3 years at Ohio State. So, yeah, I'm not worried about JJ at all, just because I think that he's all business and he wants to be great.
He knows that he's just as good or better than Carnell and Brandon. I mean, if JJ was coming to Ohio State now, I think he would play. He's not going to beat out, the two studs, and maybe not even Julian Fleming, but I mean, he's going to play. I mean, so when he does get here a year from now, when he shows up at Ohio State, he will start the first game of his freshman year. He's going to start. Somebody's going to be sitting. And I know they've got a great wide receiver room. They don't have one of him. And imagine him with another year, the way he works and the way that body's developing. Yeah, another year of JJ, he'd be wide receiver 1, I think, the first day he steps on campus.
I agree. I honestly, I'd start him over Julian Fleming. It's no slight to Julian. I just think JJ's special. I mean, go watch him.
I would think those guys will be out of there, right? Unless Julian stays for his 12th year or whatever. But
nah,
I think Emeka and Marvin are going to be gone for sure. Maybe Julian stays to be wide receiver 1, maybe get the ball. He might.
No. I literally
they put 3 on the field at once, and JJ's going to be one of those 3. I promise you, he'll be one of those 3.
No, I meant Bank. I meant like today when he's a junior in high school. I'd start him over Julian.
He would challenge him. He'd be wide receiver 4. He'd be wide receiver 4 to start, and then Julian would have to fight for catches over JJ. But I mean, JJ, I think JJ will be ahead of Carnell and Brandon, and I love those kids. And then the Rogers those are studs. But JJ is, I think JJ is a little higher level than those four guys,
Well, yeah,
and a lot higher level than the freshman from last year. JJ is going to start. There's
yeah,
no doubt in my mind.
yeah. He's got the mentality, but I watched his video of him running the hurdles 2 weekends ago, and I was like, oh my god! For as big as he is and as fast as he is on the hurdles, I mean, that's like he's like a giant Ted Ginn running hurdles.
He's going to be Marvin Harrison size too. When he gets to state, he will be Marvin Harrison size, and I think a little bit faster and a little bit better athlete than Marvin. Marvin's what's going to be. Marvin's will catch everything in a 5-yard area, but JJ's that type of receiver with maybe a tad more athleticism and a little bit more speed. You can't run hurdles, man. You can't run hurdles unless you have hips. I mean, it's not possible.
I mean, and win like a state championship in the state of Florida running the hurdles, like, and you're 6'4" and you're 210 or whatever. I mean, you know, that's absolute insanity. So yeah, I'm with you. I mean, when and again, I love the kid's physicality, but talking to the kid, I was like, this kid he's different. I mean, there is no clown. I mean, you know, because those kids are clowning and stuff when you're there. And again, they're pretty serious, but you know, when they're off or whatever, but not him. I mean, he is. You know, when everyone else is chilling and checking their phones, he was playing catch with Air Nolan. Like, I mean, Air, you know, and Air was throwing the ball about 1,000 miles an hour at JJ, and JJ is, you know, that's the thing about him is compared to, you know, I was kind of tongue in cheek saying about Julian Flemings, but JJ's hands are unbelievable. He catches everything, and hand catches everything. He's got strong hands, so it's like, you know, he's he's very well developed. Let's go O-line real quick. We are going to do a quick little clinic on offer versus offers, one of my favorite things ever that was brought by the great Urban Meyer up to the Big Ten, something that didn't really exist. So offer or offer. So William Satterwhite has an Alabama offer, and the Twins have Georgia offers. And Bank, you said that there is an offer where you spell it with capital O, capital F, capital F, capital E, capital R. And then there is one where it is offer in all lowercases. Describe the difference, and are the Twins' offers from Georgia and Will Satterwhite's offer from Bama, which of the two?
Well, I mean, and obviously I don't know. So I'm just using, you know, what I have learned from being in this business over 20 years. And if you look at Georgia, last year they offered 40 O-linemen. 40 O-linemen had offers. They took 5. They signed 5. This year, right now, at this point, and this is a very early stage of the game here, Georgia has offered 25 O-linemen. The campus visits are just starting right now for spring football, where the kids are coming in. And then when that's over, the coaches go out on the road in April and into May to visit these kids at their high schools. And then you've got the June camps coming up. So my guess is by the end of the June camps, Georgia will have another 40 O-linemen offered. Okay, between 25 and 40. Well, they're not going to have an O-line class of 37. They're not taking 38, 35 O-linemen in this class. So, I mean, to me, those are lowercase offer. They're camp invites are what they are. Same with William Satterwhite. William Satterwhite, who I think is a really good player, but I don't think he could call Alabama today and throw his hand up and say, I'm in. They would tell him, we'll see you in June, and then we'll let you know. You know, same with the Twins in Georgia. I don't think Georgia, in a class of 5, where they're going to offer 35 or 40, I don't know that they would take those 2 today. Maybe they would. I could be wrong. But to me, it fits the profile of the camp offers. And Ohio State does the same thing. Urban brought it there. Urban knew that to get a kid from Florida to come visit Ohio State in June, to come to camp, that kid's not coming unless you offer him. And he used offers as camp invites, and it's smart. And everybody does it. It's what you do. Now, it's a dangerous game if you do that with in-state kids. You know what I mean? You can offer a kid from Texas, an O-lineman or a D-lineman or whatever, safety, and then decide not to take him. He calls to commit, and you're like, nah, we can't take you. You can get away with that. Everybody does it. But boy, you You offer these two kids from Lakewood St. Edward, a high school you're going to want to recruit for the next decade, and they call to commit and you tell them no, man, not good policy at all. So it's totally different how you approach in-state and out-of-state kids. So my feeling is with Ryan Day, those twins could call Ohio State today and commit, and that commitment is going to be taken. The same with Mark Nave. I mean, they're going to take them. So would Georgia take them tonight? The history of how I've looked at this, I would say no. I think those are camp invites. Now, if Georgia had offered 7 O-linemen right now, and last year they had offered 9 and took 5, then I would say, yeah, those are offers. But man, if you're in a group of 40, you're gonna have to prove yourself. That's how I look at it.
I think you're right. I lived that. I got a nice education on that when Urban showed up, and we'd offer guys, like the fake offer, and it would be like, okay, Bill, I'm going to offer you. It's contingent on you coming to camp this summer. It's contingent on you getting a 25 on your ACT. It's contingent on your junior film. There's all these like contingencies. So, it's like, well, you have an offer, but can't commit. So, it's like, when you're the big dog, Shamar Stewart or somebody like that, you can commit tonight and we'll happily take it and pop champagne. But
Jordan Seaton can commit tonight. And this, like you said, when Urban came to Ohio State and brought that mentality, it was just something that we were not used to, something we had never heard of before, because Tressel used to offer 38 kids and sign 25 of them. You can go back and look at the history, go on 24/7 and look at who Tressel used to offer. It was crazy. There'd be under 40 offers. And the reason they didn't take some is because kids went elsewhere. But by and large, if you had an offer from Jim Tressel, you could call and commit. And boy, Urban changed that game real quick. So it is what it is. It's just the nature of how the business evolved.
Yeah, I really think that a big part of it is that Urban figured out that, kids really remember their first offer, and they also remember how early you offered them. So, if you're like if you're old fashioned Ohio State and you wait till before their senior year, that's like a slight, that's like a diss. USC offered me after my freshman year or during my freshman year or whatever. So, you can't get in the game with a kid like Tyler Atkinson or Chris Henry Jr. unless you offer them as freshmen. Now, I don't know if you're going to take their commitment when they're freshmen, because you got to see how they develop a little bit. But, you're not, you might never see Tyler Atkinson again. He was one of the top, 26s in the country. And he's a phenom. But, is he ever going to come here again after he's got an offer? His kid's probably going to end up at Georgia, but he was a kid that came to camp last year and he looked like a grown man as a freshman in high school. So yeah, it's just always interesting because I don't think people realize how that was a huge change for Ohio State because I mean, like
it was a huge change for people like me or Bill Kurlick or who had been in this business, and offers were always offers. There was no such thing as a lowercase offer from Jim Tressel. And then all of a sudden, it's like, what in the heck is going on here? I think Urban's first year, he might have offered 150 kids or something in a class that numbered 25. And it was like, it was mind-boggling. Like, and I think, the comment was from the Ohio high school coaches were like, well, how do we know if this is really an offer? And they were like, you got to call and commit. Call and try to commit, and then you'll get your answer. And it was you just had never seen this before. And it was such a fundamental shift. And, I wasn't prepared for it. I mean, it was mind-boggling to me to see just the difference. We were so used to the Jim Tressel way, and his way, he would recruit inside out. He would look to lock up 14, 15, 16, 17 Ohio kids and then branch out to fill out his class. Where Urban would kind of look outward and then try to pick some Ohio kids later in the deal to add them in. But we had just never seen recruiting like that before. But that was the end of the 16, 17, 18 in-state kid classes that Tressel had all the time.
Yeah.
Those days are over.
Oh yeah. Spring ball kicks off tomorrow. Any guys that you're excited to hear about? Is it kind of different with the quarterback competition being somewhat wide open? I feel like Kyle McCord has a pretty significant edge as of today. But what are you looking for them to get out of spring football?
Well, I just want to see what happens with the O-line, number one. I mean, because I think they're open for business on that O-line. I mean, you had Whippler and Paris and Dewan walk out the door, and it's not like when Olave and Garrett Wilson headed out the door, and you knew Marvin, and Emeka were the guy. It was just no doubt. It was a seamless transition. 2 out, 2 step right in. You don't miss a beat. I don't think it's that way right now with this O-line. You got 3 stepping out, and there is nobody right now that can tell us who the starting 5 are going to be opening day. Because I don't think Justin Fry knows. I don't think Ryan Day knows. I mean, they're open for business, man. You want to start for Ohio State this year on the O-line? Get your stuff together starting today. Let's go. You got a chance. I mean, there's open competition there. And it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know. You throw a name out there, and he may start this year. So, and we normally don't see this at Ohio State. So I think that's what's interesting, to see who's starting to separate themselves. I want to see who they throw out there day one as the first team O-line. I don't even know who that would be, let alone who's going to start opening day. I don't know what the first team O-line would be at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I don't know. So that's the exciting part for me, is to see just how Justin Fry earns his money this year. He got handed a pretty stacked hand last year. He did a good job with that O-line, but he was handed a nice room.
Yeah.
Now he's got to have to earn his money now. I mean, you blow out a beautiful O-line next year that runs the heck out of the ball and protects the quarterback. You're going to have to tip your hat to Justin Fry. I mean, he got to do some coaching and some developing right now. Where last year he walked into a new job and it's like, oh, I got Paris Johnson, and I got Dewan Jones, and I got Whippler, and I got Donovan Jack. Oh, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to get hurt, but I'm good. Well, now, man, it's going to be fun to see just maybe somebody out of the blue that we're not aware of steps up and grabs a job. Maybe 3 of them do. We'll see. I mean, they're open for business.
Yeah, it was interesting. Luke Whippler at the Combine was interviewed, and they asked who he thought would start at center, and he said Jacob James. And Jacob is even practicing this spring, which is mortifying to me, the fact that you're starting center. Because, again, I've been a graduate assistant. When me and Ed were the 2 line coaches, basically, in 2012. And, when you don't know kind of who's going to start where, and you kind of stunk the year before, it's terrifying. So you're going into that spring practice, man, and you're going to be going against, because you're going against Mike Hall, Tyleek, JT Tuimoloau, and Jack, and those guys are all 5-star. Mike Hall's a terror, and it's like, so the offense can't function unless this O-line can show up and do the thing. So the pressure, it's on Justin Fry, and it's also on Brian Hartline, because Brian Hartline has got to learn how to call protections the same way that a really good pitcher throws 4 or 5 good pitches. It's like, you can't just sit there and empty and pray that these guys can hang in there versus JT and Mike Hall. You got to do some stuff to move the pocket, mix it up, do some chips, do some stuff with the tight ends to screw with the defensive ends, pass rush. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to help this line, because, you got new starters in there, and it's because, Dewan left after 4 years, Paris left after 3 years, Luke Whippler shocked everybody and left after 3 years, except me, because I already knew he was leaving. But, so it's, and plus, the thing that stinks is we lost Ryan Jacoby, is a kid that, would probably be in the mix at right tackle this year if he was still here. And Max Ray would have been in the mix at left tackle, but he transferred to Colorado, and then he retired. So, it stinks, because, and then obviously Harry Miller's the guy that had to retire. So it's just been we've had a very weird run of attrition and declarations for the draft. So it's
this is a this is a huge year for Justin Fry, and I thought he did a really good job last year with that
Yeah.
group. But I mean, he had a lot of stuff to work with. I mean, he wasn't molding those guys out of out of nowhere. They weren't
Yeah.
they weren't fresh. And a lot of those guys had all played a lot of football, and I mean, he had it pretty easy last year. He does not have it easy this year. And if this O line is really good this year, man, I'll be the first one singing his praises. I mean, because he's got a
Wow.
job, he's got a work cut out for him.
Yeah, this is where you really earn your money. This is like in 14 when Ed won the national title with Jacoby Bourne and Daryl Baldwin. I mean,
Right.
that was against beating
Good for
Bama
that.
and Deron
Yeah.
Payne and Jared Allen, or not Jared Allen, Jonathan Allen, and you beat Bama with those guys. I mean, that's when you're coaching them up. That's when you're earning your check that year. So
No doubt about it. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, Bank, I appreciate, man. This has been a great one. Downloading this one real quick. But yeah, we'll maybe hit it on a Thursday or Friday after a few spring practices have happened. But appreciate you, my man. Any final thoughts for the Buckeye Scoop crew that are watching this right now?
Yeah, try to find film on the Hoban freshman wide receiver, Peyton Cook. Um, what I saw yesterday was out of this world, out of that kid. I mean, it was, and that's my final thought is when you go to those quarterback combines, usually like the QBs will bring their own receivers or local receivers. High school kids will come to get a workout in, and they're usually not NFL first round draft picks, that these guys are throwing to. And then all of a sudden I see a kid take a rep where he bolts off the line at 100 miles an hour. He does an in cut that he cuts on a dime, and they throw the ball 5 yards behind him. He's got to go up in the air, twist his body, make a one-handed catch, come down with it, and he looks like a deer jumping over a fence out in the woods. And it was like, holy God, who was that? Like, and if someone would have told me, well, that kid, he starts at Kent State or he starts at Akron, he's just here getting a workout in, I would have believed it. But no, he was a freshman that started for Hoban last year, Peyton Cook. And I mean, he's already talked to Heartline, already been offered by Michigan and Pitt. He's coming to camp this summer. I was shocked that he was a freshman in high school. I mean, legit 6'1", long arms. I mean, speed, quicks, routes, hands, body control. Kind of a Jackson Smith-Njigba body control deal. Like when Jackson made that catch against Nebraska, I think it was, when he was a freshman.
No, was it at week 1? It was like the first game of the season in a blowout or something.
I remember him making this catch where his arms and legs are going everywhere, and the body control was amazing. He reached behind him and just plucked it out of the air like it was nothing.
Yeah, I was thinking of the one where he did the one-footed toe tap, like the first game of his career, where he caught it in the back end zone.
I thought he had one against Nebraska that was just out of this world in the back of the end zone, and maybe that's the one you're talking about too. Could be, but I mean, that's the body control I saw out of this kid. It was just one catch, and it was like, that's all I need to see. Sign me up for that dude. It's just, when you see, you know what I mean? It just, and I wasn't looking for a wide receiver. I'm watching these quarterbacks, their delivery and everything. I'm not looking for a wide receiver. I know there's not one here that can play, that kid can play. It just, and it was so eye-popping that you couldn't help but notice. I mean, he looked like a college receiver to me. So, name to watch, and we got to find film on him. Peyton Cook, 2026 wideout, Hoban, offer from Michigan, offer from Pitt, and there's going to be more. Believe me, there's going to be more.
So, Coach Tyrell, please put his film on Huddle, because William Satterwhite has a tape up, and I was like, this kid's got Michigan already as a freshman, so he's obviously going to get an Ohio State offer. Brian Hartline liked our tweet that we put up about him, about an hour ago.
Okay.
So I mean, he's very aware of this kid. So if Brian's liking this kid's, this tweet. So,
I texted Terrell right away. I texted him right away, and I said, tell me about your freshman wide receiver. I'm watching him at Brad Mandler's quarterback camp. And he texted me right back, and he said, best wide out in Ohio. And it's like, no argument from me. I mean, the Henry kid's pretty special, but I mean, Peyton Cook is special. So let's track him down. Let's follow him and see if we can come up with him. But we'll be seeing him in camp soon. And I'll run up to the school here when the college coaches are allowed on the road. I'll get up there and see what's cooking up there with him. But special kid.
It's
Great kid, mature kid. Just man, lot to like with that kid.
Yeah, it'd be wild if we had him and Chris Henry in the same class, and they're both actually from Ohio. They're not from Texas and Florida and Georgia and where we've been going and getting these kids, or Philly like Marvin. But well, that's awesome. I'm excited to see the kids film. Again, I get that huddle tape up, baby. Come on, Coach Tyrell, we need you, baby. So, well, Bank, this has been awesome. I appreciate you, my man. I'm gonna wrap this thing up. Thank you, brother.
Yep.
What a great show. Appreciate every one of you guys tuning in. Thank you so much. Just a fantastic night with Bank. If you enjoyed that, he's got a big notebook about some of the other stuff that he saw on BuckeyeScoop.com. He's good. He's on the grind, checking out some of these kids in Ohio. I'm sure he's going to get down to Florida soon and check out some of these skill guys down there. So big time stuff going on. Really enjoying it. Spring ball is getting ready to just get rocking tomorrow. So we're going to have full coverage of that. Super excited about that. Kind of see what the O-line looks like. I'm projecting that it's going to be Josh Fryer at right tackles, then at left tackle, Donnie. It'll be interesting center. I imagine Carson Hinsman, and then at the other guard is going to be Matt Jones. So be interesting to see if they shift these guys around a little bit. So I'm super excited about that. It's going to be a great day on Buckeye Scoop. So I hope you guys are doing great. If you guys could leave us a like, I'd appreciate it. Click subscribe. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify as well. Leave us a 5-star review. Those things are killing it right now. So thank you guys so much. But yeah, appreciate you guys as always. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. I'm heading on to BuckeyeScoop.com to join the Bank and Nevada Buck to talk football and talk about all this other great stuff. So I appreciate you guys. You guys have a good night. Go Bucks.